Hello. Um, so today's MyDrash is about Parashat Shoftim. I'm also giving you fair warning over here, which is that in a week or two I will no longer have this computer with me, and so it's possible that the quality will change for better or for worse in terms of the recording. I hope it's for the better. Parashat Shoftim starts off with Parashat Shoftim, Judges, and talks about at the beginning about the duty of judges to judge in a way which is in accordance with morality and with truth. And in the course of that discussion, the Midrash brings all sorts of statements trying to clarify what it considers to be sort of the way of truth. And it also connects it to other times in history and other figures in history. And today we are going to talk about one of those figures. So the verse says, this is Perek Tetzayin Pasuk Yudchet, chapter 16, verse 18. V'shaftu et ha'am mishpat tzedek, that the judges should judge the people justly. Amar Rabbi Yehuda beRabbi Shalom, שיהיו מתין ומלמדים עליהם זכות לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא. Let them tilt the judgment, ומלמדים עליהם זכות לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא. So in other words, they're saying, ללמד עליהם זכות means to come before God and sort of take the side of the defendant, okay, and sort of defend the people of Israel. So the Midrash is saying, beyond the fact that judges, when they stand in judgment, need to judge righteously, this is also reflective, according to the Midrash, on their responsibility towards God. Okay, and that their job towards God is to judge the people of Israel favorably towards God, like to come and present the people of Israel to God and say, look, they are, they deserve to be taken into consideration. They deserve some leniency in your judgment. And so that's sort of what the Midrash says. Mimiyat alamed. Who do you learn this from? Gideon ben Yoash, shebiyamav hayu Yisrael betzara. So this is referencing Gideon ben Yoash. Gideon ben Yoash is one of the judges from the book of Judges. Okay, now judges over there doesn't mean, at least not only mean, that they sat in judgment in terms of the daily affairs of the people of Israel. It means that they were leaders of the people of Israel. They were sort of leaders called to lead based on the needs of the hour. Gideon is one of those people that are mentioned in Shoftim. So let's see what the Midrash says. Shebiyamav hayu Yisrael betzara. People of Israel then were they were in trouble. We'll see soon what trouble that was. V'haya HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevakesh adam sheyelamed aleim zchut. God was looking for somebody to come and sort of take the side of Israel and speak their side, speak their defense. Okay, just like Moshe, let's say, used to do all the time. He was looking for somebody to do the same for the people of Israel at the time of Gideon. V'lo haya motzeh. He couldn't find anybody to do so. Shaya hador dal b'mitzvot v'masim. Problem was that the people really were not very righteous. They were not. They didn't deserve sort of a lot of credit for anything. They really weren't very just. כיוון שנמצא זכות בגדעון, שלימד עליהם זכות, מיד נגלה עליו הקדוש ברוך הוא. Once he found Gideon, whose own zchut, whose own whose own plus, or whose own sort of good attribute, good character, was that he was willing to side with the people of Israel, to take their side and and speak in their name, sort of to their perspective. Miyad nigla alav hakadosh baruch hu. That's when God revealed Himself to him. שנאמר, ויבוא אליו מלאך השם וגומר, וכתיב ויפן אליו השם ויאמר לו, לך בכוחך זה. This is the quote from the verse, which we will see in a moment. בכוח זכות שלימדת על בניי, in you should go with your power, which is a result of the fact that you sided with the people of Israel and spoke on their behalf. So it repeats the first thing we said, the obligation of the judges to speak on behalf of the people is learned from this verse that says that they should do justice. So we have a few questions over here. One question is to understand better the story, read and understand the story of Gideon. See what was the great thing about Gideon's statement, which we will do in a moment. And the other thing is, how does this connect to judges in general, and specifically, how does the Midrash connect the fact that they're supposed to judge people justly, and that they're supposed to speak on the behalf of Israel towards God? What is the connection between those two? I think a deeper understanding of what happens with Gideon will help us understand better also what it is exactly that the Midrash is saying. So the story of Gideon appears in chapter 6, Perek Vav, of the book of Judges. So you might want to pause the video for a moment and go get yourself a book of Judges, chapter 6. And the chapter begins, has several pieces before we hear about Gideon. First, it starts off by telling us how, as is always true in the book of Judges, the people of Israel did not follow God's will. And when this happened, God gave them onto the hands of the Midianites. The Midianites in this story over here are basically, you can think of them as Bedouins. Okay, they live in their tents, they roam the land, they don't actually settle down anywhere, but they come and they plunder the land, go through the land, take what they need, and basically the people of Israel would work the land, collect their crops, and then the Midianites would come, storm the different settlements, and steal all the food. And then when the people of Israel were suffering, they called out to God, and God sent them a prophet. This is all in the first verses of chapter 6. And the prophet comes in and says, I took you out of Egypt, and I saved you from everything, and I told you to do what I tell you to do, and you didn't listen, and you followed false idols. That's it. The prophet comes basically and says, how dare you, who do you think you're calling? I told you to listen to me and you didn't. It doesn't say, I'm not going to help anybody. It just says, you deserve what you're getting. And then comes the story with Gideon. So this is verse 11. The Malach comes and towards the house of Yoash. Gideon was working with the Chittim. He was basically sort of taking the crop and extracting the good from the bad. But he was doing it in secret because he didn't want the Midianites to see and steal the stuff. God, this Malach, this angel, this messenger of God, reveals himself to Gideon. God is with you, O brave one, O hero. Gideon answered, me? You're talking to me? I'm a hero? And you mentioned God. Yesh Hashem imanu? Is there even a God with us? Why have all these bad things happen to us? If God is with us, why are all these bad things happening? Where are all these miracles? Which our forefathers told us about. To say, Hello Mitzrayim Elanu Hashem. God took us out of Egypt. We heard all these stories. And now, God has deserted us. And He's given us into the hands of the Midianites. So, what are you talking about, God be with you? Who is this God? He's not with us anymore. If He's this great God, why isn't He saving us like we were in Egypt? God turns to them and says to him, and God turns to him and says to him, go with this strength that you have and save the people of Israel. I have sent you. Okay, and what the Midrash is focusing on here is how at the beginning it says that there's this Malach Hashem, there's an angel of God, or a messenger, and then once Gidon rises up in this outrage and chagrin and says, "Who is this God?" God turns to him directly and says that God speaks to him and says to him, "Go with this strength, and save, and save people." So clearly there was something good about what Gidon did, right? His reaction to the angel caused God to directly reveal himself and not through a messenger. So Gidon's response obviously was a good thing. Question is, what exactly is so great about this response, right? All he's saying is, who is this God you're talking about? What is it that what exactly are you asking me to sort of thank him for, or not to thank him for, but to acknowledge him for? All these stories we heard about him was nothing has come from them. If he really was around, he would save us. And beyond that question of what's so great about that response, specifically, what is that connected to what we see over here, right? To our parsha. We can at least understand a little bit about what parsha sees in Gidon in terms of defending Israel, right? A moment ago, we said there was a prophet that came along and said, "I told you to follow my way and you didn't, and now you're getting punished." So there's a statement there, there's an accusation with no response. And when the Malach comes to Gidon, Gidon says, "Why isn't God saving us?" Like he's completely oblivious to the fact that the people just don't follow God's rule, right? And as if he didn't even listen to this prophet who spoke before the people. Maybe he wasn't there to hear him. Maybe the rumor hadn't spread. But the tension between this accusation of this malach, of this angel, and Gidon's reaction of who is this God? Why isn't he saving us? At least shows that there's sort of a counter perspective, right? Gidon is fully taking the side of the people of Israel, even though it's not like Moshe, who comes along and sort of tries to explain, why God should forgive them, or at least, explain to God why God should, maybe they don't deserve to be forgiven, but he tries to convince God to forgive them anyway. Here, he takes a completely, a very, very sort of combative stance against God, saying, "Who is this God anyway? Why isn't he around? He should be saving us. If he really was around, I'd expect him to do something about what we're suffering now." As an aside, I'd like to point out that another interesting comparison here is that the people of Israel here weren't just being oppressed. It's not just a classic oppression story, of which there also are in the book of Judges. This is specifically people are being robbed from. And in that sense, it's related a bit to what we see in our parsha of talking about justice. But that's not the focus of the Midrash. What is the answer to these questions? What is the connection between judges doing, judging justly, tzedek, mishpat tzedek, and them defending Israel to God, which seems to be almost the opposite of justice because they're looking for, good points. And what is the connection to Gidon? What is so great about Gidon that he gets, that Chazal connects them and say he spoke on behalf of Israel? I mean, what exactly did he say? What was so great about what he said? Because it seems that what he said isn't to the point, isn't in any way like, the people of Israel deserve this because of something good that they did. No, it's just saying, you God, what's wrong with you? Right? So I think the answer is that really Gidon, he had no good thing to say about Israel, not at least objectively. He might have even been clueless about the mitzvot and about God and everything. But the key is, and this I think is the point that the Midrash is trying to say, is that his set of values and his perspective of life was still one that was oriented around justice and around truth and about right and wrong. The people of Israel had veered and steered away from the right path. But Gidon seems to believe that things aren't so bad within the people of Israel. Maybe he doesn't know the Torah, right? Possibly the Torah at this point wasn't, because they had deviated so much, maybe most of the people didn't understand what they were supposed to do and didn't live, constantly with awareness that they were deviating from the right path. They heard about the past, but they didn't really know how it related to the present. Gideon is not just a guy who says, everybody is doing wrong, nobody really cares. It's all just like, it's, let bygones be bygones, let's move on. No. Gideon is seething inside. He's angry. And he feels like he's been wronged by God. Who is this God? How dare you associate me with him? If there really was a God, he says, he would have been here to save us. Gideon isn't apathetic towards God. Doesn't seem just as another God amongst all the others. That, he's here, he's there, whatever, we appease him, we don't appease him. Oh no. Gideon is saying, I've heard about this God, and where the heck is he? Right? This reminds me of a famous, nice little midrash, nice little story about the Rebbe Mikot, one of the great Hasidic rabbis, who is known to have said that when the Mashiach comes, everybody will go to greet the Mashiach. And of course, a monumentous event. But he's not going to go greet the Mashiach. He will wait. He'll wait a week, he'll wait 2 weeks. After a month, he'll go to the Mashiach, and he'll ask for audience. And the Mashiach will look at him and say to him, Menachem Mendel, his name was Menachem Mendel Mikotz, where were you all this time? Then said Rebbe Mikotz, I will look at him straight in the eye and say to him, me? Where have you been all this time? We've been waiting for you for hundreds of years. Where have you been? This is exactly what Gideon is saying. Gideon is saying, he's in outrage. Who is this God? If he was really our God, he'd be here. He's completely wrong. He's completely clueless to the fact that they've deviated from the path. But it doesn't matter. Because Gideon thinks in terminology and in a set of values that talks about right and wrong. That means that he's salvageable. That means that he can be saved, and through him also the people of Israel can be saved. Because if you can think in those terms, then if I point out the error of your ways, you will change your ways. If you're corrupt, and you don't care about what's right and wrong, and those terms don't mean anything to you, then you're lost, right? The Midrash, so the Midrash looks at this verse and says, aha, what made God reveal himself to Gideon immediately after he said what he said? Gideon didn't say anything that was to the point. He had nothing to defend the people of Israel about why they were not following God's way. But there was a glimmer of hope in Gideon's behavior, because he said, I want what's right and what's just. And God is is showing injustice towards us. So that's why I'm not respectful towards him. God says, maybe this man doesn't know the truth about the matter, maybe he doesn't understand his obligation, but he thinks in the right terminology. He thinks in the right set of values of what's right and wrong. I believe that in a similar way, this is exactly what Chazal saw over here. In what way does Chazal connect true judgment to speaking on behalf of Israel? In exactly the same way. When judges judge according to truth, that alone speaks on behalf of Israel. A society where the judges see truth as their guide and try to do what is just and truthful, in their judgment, that is both a credit to those judges and to the society that is willing to abide by their ruling. It's possible that the people of Israel will at some point in the future, or even today, not completely follow God's way, and that they will deviate from the path. But the very fact that as a society they are willing to talk in terms of justice and truth and right and wrong, that alone is a way of the judges to speak on behalf of Israel and say, look at your people, God. True, they don't follow all your laws. True, they don't keep Shabbos, they don't keep kosher, etc. But at least they try to do what's right. So maybe we need to work harder, they say, to show them what's right. But at least they know what's right, and then that's something that they care about. Those values are what they care about. By judging right, and by the people of Israel accepting that judgment, that is speaking on behalf of the people of Israel. That is basically a support of the people of Israel. And that, I believe, is what the Midrash is here to tell us, and why it connects us to Gideon. So without further ado, I shall bid you all a Shabbat Shalom.